My name is Jessica Salabank. I'm the Senior Media Relations Officer here at the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. I've been in Geneva for about 4 years. I'm 35, I'm from the UK, and I've been doing the media job for about 2.5 years now. So my job here is I'm the Senior Media Officer for the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, which essentially means I'm the focal point for all the international media that call the headquarters, looking for information, looking for interviews, looking for archive or videos. I'm the focal point for the media. I have an undergraduate degree in French and Indonesian languages, so I did an undergraduate degree in foreign languages, and I have a master's degree in Southeast Asian studies because I have a very strong interest in Indonesia and Malaysia, and then I have a postgraduate diploma in journalism. Well, in my job here, it's quite a busy job because we're running a press office. And obviously we have to respond to news, we're very reactive. So a lot of my job is really responding to journalists that call about something that's happening in the news, or they're looking for information about Red Cross work. So it's a very reactive job, and one of my main responsibilities is to really develop and maintain our relationships with journalists. I'm also responsible for relationships with the journalists of the United Nations. As you know, we have the United Nations here in Geneva. There's a very, very large press corps. So it's my job really to keep them updated about what we're doing here at the IFRC. And fundamentally, one of my main roles here in the Secretariat is to promote the work of our national societies. We have 187 Red Cross, Red Crescent organisations all around the world doing great work, and it's my job to link them up with media and get them profiled as much as we can. Well, before I came to work at the Red Cross, I was working as a journalist myself. I started out working in newspapers, then I moved into television. And I was very fortunate to have worked in lots of interesting places, sometimes very difficult places. But pretty much everywhere I went on assignment, the Red Cross would always be there, either the ICRC, the IFRC, or a national society. And I was always very impressed with their work. And I was also very interested in their mandate and their fundamental principles of neutrality and independence. And I really wanted to be part of this and use my skills for the good. I think in a media relations job, or if you're working in a press office, it's very important to have what we call news sense. To really understand how journalists work, how they think, what they need, and what actually makes a story. And obviously coming from a journalistic background, that can help, but you can also learn that and be trained to do that. It's a very fine balance in what we call public relations, because on the one hand you really want to promote the work of your organisation and profile them as much as you can, but journalists need stories, so you have to give them a little bit of news in order to get the coverage. It's always a very fine balance to do that. And also having the ability to spot a good story. A lot of information comes across my desk every day, and just picking out bits that you think might be interesting for journalists is a very good skill to have. Secondly, I would say the ability to work quickly into deadlines. When you're working in a media environment, journalists can be very persistent. They want things quickly, or they want things right now. So time management, weighing up who comes first, what to do when, is very, very important. And reacting quickly is a very important skill as well. Positive-wise, it's very, very satisfying when you see the Red Cross being profiled in the news, when you've done your job. CNN or the BBC are really profiling the work, they're quoting the Red Cross, they're interviewing our people. It's very, very rewarding when you see a national society sort of leading on a news story. That's very, very satisfying for us and for them. It's also very interesting to work in an international environment. When I come to work in the morning, by 11 o'clock, I've already spoken to our offices in Jakarta, in Kuala Lumpur, in Damascus, in Lebanon, and we have very interesting people coming through all the time. So it's really nice to be in a really international environment. And also it's very exciting. If there's a big news story, if there's a big earthquake or disaster, it can be very, very, very exciting to be part of a bigger story and really contribute to making the news. I don't know if you could describe this as a negative, but when you join the Red Cross or in any emergency response organisation, you are on alert all the time. It is a 24-hour job. You know, earthquakes don't respect time. And, you know, I have been doing interviews at 3 in the morning at times. You wake up in the morning, you never really know what's going to be happening in the world. So it's a bit, it can be very tiring, but, you know, equally very rewarding. I think anything to do with our volunteers is always very inspiring, particularly when you get volunteers from places like Syria or Lebanon. You know, I've had the privilege to meet people from, you know, from war zones and from very difficult countries, and that always inspires all of us because, you know, you really get a sense of the real work that's going on beyond the headquarters. Last year I was in Burundi, working on a very interesting project involving Burundians that have been living in Tanzania for 20 years and were being repatriated back to Burundi. And we had a big appeal to try and help them reintegrate back into the country. And I worked out there with journalists, and you know, it was very, very moving to see the Red Cross sort of reuniting families. You know, a lot of people have been separated. It's always very rewarding to see that kind of real, tangible work. So being out there in those sort of transit camps really made an impression on me. And just recently I was in Jordan, which, as you know, has been deeply affected by what's going on in Syria. The Red Cross, Red Crescent have built a big field hospital in one of the new refugee camps. And this hospital had arrived in pieces on an Airbus and had been unloaded a bit like a Lego pack and was being built in the desert. And it's really quite amazing to see this kind of work. It's very inspiring. International Geneva, well, I think Geneva is just international, isn't it? I mean, if you look at the number of international organisations that are here, all the embassies, you've got the United Nations. I mean, wherever you go to in Geneva, you'll always hear at least 4 languages in 10 minutes. I mean, it's absolutely astonishing. It's probably one of the most international cities in the world. I would say definitely look into it and definitely work towards it. It's a very rewarding career. It's very, very interesting. You know, it's something that's very, I mean, whenever you work in an international organisation, you're going to meet very interesting people from all over the world, do interesting work, possibly do work that's very news related and very current. So I definitely encourage it. It's a great, great career path. I think patience is very important. You know, when you work in big organisations, things can seem a bit slow and you don't seem to be making change. But fundamentally, without these organisations, I think the world would be a much worse place. So everybody can contribute in their own small way, and I think it's very important to, you know, to get involved and do your piece for humanity.